right, I am Reverend T, and I am the unrefined priest, and today we got a good old-fashioned Bible war. Bible war between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, and who doesn't love a good old-fashioned Bible war? So, in this interview is painful. It's painful to watch because Ted Cruz looks completely unprepared for any of the questions he's going to get asked. And Tucker Carlson is pretty condescending and kind of comes across as a jerk throughout the entirety of the whole interview. Look, neither one of these guys are guys that I particularly love. I don't dislike them. I don't like them. They're just guys. They're not my guys, but whatever. They're going to sit down. They're going to have an interview, and Tucker Carlson is going to be asking Ted Cruz a lot of questions about Israel and why we need to go to war with Iran. And Ted Cruz fails tremendously. But I'm going to play a clip for you. This is Ted Cruz kind of justifying why he thinks standing with Israel is the thing that we have to do right this moment. And then I will break it down for you, and I'll show you where he's wrong and where Tucker's wrong and where I'm right, as always. So let me get that rolling.
You suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why. So let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay.
So
Tucker, words matter.
Uh-huh.
And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug ODs on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution. And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding.
You're the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of it.
Those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase, you don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
the
God's referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected...
But he's the prime minister,
right?
What?
But just...
All right. Look, man, that was painful. This is what happens when you get two primarily politically minded individuals delving into the Bible. You end up in absolute chaos. And so... You know, what Ted Cruz is putting out here, and this is, let me Let me just bring this up for you so that we have some sort of reference point. This is what Ted Cruz is referencing. He is referencing Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. And this is what it says: I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So this is the Bible verse that Ted Cruz was referencing, and this is also the Bible verse that Tucker Carlson knew immediately what Ted Cruz was talking about. And this is why I say, neither one of these guys are coming out of this interview looking good, in my opinion. First of all, Ted Cruz looks completely unprepared. He doesn't even know where the verse is. But Tucker Carlson asked him, where is that in the Bible? And he asked him like it was a sincere question, like he didn't know that that was a biblical concept or theme, or that there were verses that talk about this. And this is why I had a really hard time with Tucker Carlson in here, because Tucker Carlson knows exactly where it is. In fact, when Ted Cruz can't point to where it is, Tucker Carlson immediately jumps in and says it's in Genesis. So he knows. And this is one of the things that I think we need to be aware of, is that there are two ways that you can approach the Bible, and Ted Cruz is approaching it one way and Tucker Carlson is approaching it another way, and neither one of them is wrong, but Ted Cruz looks pretty bad. So Ted Cruz is approaching the Bible and this idea of God will bless those who bless Israel as this is a theme or a biblical concept. He doesn't know where it is, but he knows that it's in the Bible because it's a biblical theme and it is a concept that you can find in a variety of places in the Bible, to be quite honest with you. Now, Tucker Carlson is approaching it as what book is it in, what chapter is it in, and what's the verse. And so those are just two different approaches to looking at the Bible. So, for example, in defense of Ted Cruz, which is very difficult to do, but in defense of Ted Cruz, you could speak on the topic of be holy as God is holy, and you could talk about that as a biblical concept or a theme because it shows up in a variety of places. So you could speak of it in those terms without actually providing book, chapter, and verse. And that is what Ted Cruz is attempting to do. Tucker Carlson doesn't let him get away with that. And he says, no, we're going to talk about this very specifically. I want the book, the chapter, and the verse. And Ted Cruz can't produce it. And so Ted Cruz comes out of this looking pretty silly. But he was doing something that is generally accepted, and that is throwing out an idea that is a biblical theme or concept in the Bible as it shows up in a variety of places. So they're just, no one's really winning that point. But where Tucker Carlson really pulls ahead here is when he begins asking him, does that mean that we have to support the nation of Israel as it is today? Like, is that biblical reference? Can you take that and apply it to all time? Meaning it's not just for that specific time or the Old Testament period or even into the New Testament period, but this is a statement that applies for all time. And that's really what Tucker Carlson is trying to get to the bottom of, is do you believe that blessing and those curses apply to all time, meaning apply right now? And does that mean that we have to support the nation of Israel in 2025? And I think you're going to have a hard time getting there. I think you're going to have a hard time saying that that applies to all time and that that applies to the nation of Israel in 2025. But here's where I think Ted Cruz is going to run into even more of a problem. And the problem that Ted Cruz is going to run into is the whole idea of a just war. And so the way that I generally look at this is a just war is something that takes place when we as a nation are personally attacked and there's no other recourse but to go to war. We can't smooth this over with diplomacy. We actually are at a point where the best thing for our people is to go to war. I don't see that you've hit that threshold at all. And so making the biblical argument solely based on Genesis 12 verse 3 that we should go to war with Iran, it seems like a leap to me. This seems like something that we don't have to do. And you don't have to do this certainly based off of Genesis chapter 12 verse 3. And if we're making policy decisions of going to war based off of Genesis chapter 12 verse 3, I think that that's really bad theology. I think that's really bad biblical studies, and I think that that's a really bad way to justify the many lives that will be lost by going to war. I am very, very concerned after watching this interview of the direction that we seem to be moving towards, and I'm very much hoping that we will not be moving towards here, because Donald Trump has not made any statements that we are going to war, at least not that I am aware of. What I hear from Donald Trump is essentially Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. That's it, full stop. And other people have taken it to we need to really jump in and join Israel and go on the offensive attack. And if you're going to use Genesis chapter 12 verse 3, that's crazy. These verses do not say go to war. like let's cool our jets. I think Tucker Carlson is very right in asking these questions. And my problem with Tucker Carlson is not the questions that he asked, but the manner in which he asked them. They were not genuine questions. You can go back to his questions on how many people live in Iran, and it's the same sort of condescending attitude that he has throughout the entirety of the interview. I don't think Tucker Carlson did himself any favors in the likability category, which I'm not sure that he had a whole lot to begin with. But I don't think that he did himself any favors there. But he did expose some of Ted Cruz's underlining positions, and they are scary. But this is the verse that everybody's talking about today and the last couple days, and probably will be talking about for quite a while. This verse, that for me to wrap this whole thing up, this verse does not say go to war, I'll tell you that. My name is Reverend T. I am the Unrefined Priest, and if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel. Helps out a ton, and we keep pumping out videos. I'm out of here.